In this talk, I present an example of the special project for Adler Graduate School course number 537, Advanced Counseling Skills. The first step in the special project is to select a population that you would like to gain additional expertise in assessing and treating. You can use the discussion block on the right side of the course page if you would like some guidance from me on this selection process. In this example, I am choosing Black women as my population. The second step is conducting a literature review of at least 5 peer-reviewed research articles in a 4 to 6 page paper, identifying specific themes or considerations you want to incorporate into your assessment. This is due on the Friday of week 5. The third step is creating questions to be used in your assessment interview that facilitate an assessment of the specific considerations you have identified in your review of the literature. This is due on Friday of week 8. Fourth, you will record an interview of you administering these questions to a friend or colleague who is either in your selected population of interest or is role-playing someone who is. This is due on Friday of week 10. Actually, my interest in this population started with my reading of this article. This was a qualitative and phenomenological study in which 7 women who self-identified as Black were interviewed for 1 to 2 hours. This interview was semi-structured, asking and exploring subjects about their life experiences. These transcripts were then transcribed, and the researcher and several of her colleagues went through a systematic process of grouping and clustering the themes found across the interviews. Subjects were periodically asked to provide feedback on the findings and interpretations of the data as well. There are some limitations to this research. The subject pool was small, from a specific geographical area with a relatively low Black population, and all subjects had at least a bachelor's degree. 3 major themes emerged from the data of this study: social relationships, Black-female identity, and career and work. Within the theme of social relationships were 3 sub-themes: social relationships with other Black women, family bonds, and friendships. Your literature review will include at least 5 research articles, and you will group and cluster the findings from this research into themes or areas you wish to consider in your assessment. This identification process sets the stage for the next step in the SPT process. As you begin constructing your assessment strategy, look at the Powers and Griffith style of living interview to see where the themes you have identified from the research can be assessed within that interview. For example, the family bonds and career and work themes are likely to be explored pretty thoroughly in the existing interview. There may be some nuances that could be added to this interview on these themes, but generally, it is likely that these areas will be covered in good detail. However, the data suggests that in the area of friendship, the Powers and Griffith interview needs some additional questions. 5 of the 7 women in this study differentiated between types and levels of bonding they developed and experienced in friendships with Black women and their relationships and interactions with white women. Additional questions need to be developed to augment the existing interview in the area of friendship. Begin this process by looking at the questions that are in the friendship and inquiry section of the Powers and Griffith interview. Create some questions and consider where you would insert them in the existing questions. Finally, there is no place in the Powers and Griffith interview that would explore the theme of Black female identity. This research suggested 3 key features as essential to this theme: collective Black female pride, gendered racism, and mentoring. Lines of inquiry for this theme and its features need to be developed. Create these questions and consider where you would insert them in the existing structure of the interview. This paper, due on Friday of week 8, should mirror the Powers and Griffith workbook while exploring the themes identified in your review of the literature. There can be general questions, prompting questions, or general directions to guide the interviewer in this exploration. Remember that this is a semi-structured interview, and the interviewer can ask follow-up questions as they arise, while needing enough structure to get the conversation started on the important topics. For the interview, you can create a role for a friend or colleague, or you can interview a person that is actually in your selected population. You do not need to ask all of the questions from the Powers and Griffith interview, but you may want to ask a few in order to orient your subject and your observer. Remember to have your mock client complete the Working Alliance Inventory client form at the end of the interview.